All right. Good evening, everyone. I welcome you to the world's biggest digital space conference for this year, organized by SDNx and Helium Learning Lab. My name is Sakshi, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Space Development Nexus and your host for today. This year's theme, the role of space education and research in emerging nations, was adopted to put a spotlight on the space activities in emerging nations and empower them further. We expect that through this summit, the students and young space professionals can get guidance with their education and career. SDNx Foundation was established in the year 2013 with the purpose of making space accessible to everyone through its initiatives and education projects supported by research and development. Helium Learning Labs, who are our organizing partner, are a NetTech company that aims to establish a world-class digital space school to fill the gap between space education and the space industry, to train students for the future workforce. Now, introducing my speakers for today, we have Mr. Aldridge T. Mello. He's a business development manager and project manager and has been working in the space industry for 7 years. Aldrich is also the national point of contact for SGAC for Angola. We also have Mr. Marco Romero with us, who is a ballistic and navigation satellite specialist and an Angolan space program, who started his career at the Angolan National Air Force as an aeronautical engineer. He has completed the Advanced Master in Space System Engineering at ISAE Sopeiro, France, and the European Space Agency Master of Science in Human and Robotic Space Exploration and Development System SEAS program. Outside his studies, Marco led the commission and implementation of the Angolan Center for Space Studies, now supporting the activities of the Space Application and Services, Law, Innovation, and Outreach departments of the Space Angolan program. Marco is also the national point of contact for SJC for Angola, National Outreach Coordinator for IAU, Office of Astronomy Outreach, National Astronomical Observatory Japan, Open Cosmos Academy Ambassador, and ISS Ambassador, World Economic Forum Global Shaper, and for the World CanSat and Rocketry Competition. In the last 4 years, Mr. Marco has developed and consolidated 6 startups that have represented and participated in the development of aerospace sector in Africa. We are so honored and glad to have you here, Mr. Aldridge and Mr. Marco. Do you want to go ahead and start with your presentation, Mr. Aldridge, and then we'll move to Mr. Marco and say hi to our audience as well?
Sure. Hello, everybody. Really happy to be here today. Thank you for the opportunity, Space Development Nexus. I know we have been talking, it's been a couple of months now since we had our first meetings, and I've embraced this amazing project. I'm also very happy to see that now there's a high participation from African countries, national points of contacts all over Africa. So this is something that made me really happy to see the development throughout this month. Also, I'm very happy to be presenting with Marco because it's been a while since we presented together. That this is really exciting. So I'll start sharing my screen now. Just 1 second. Okay, we are ready to go. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
All right, so I will talk a little bit about Satellogic and the work that we are doing in Africa, and also the potential that there is in terms of collaborating with startups in Africa that are developing solutions that are using satellite imagery, and the impact that this has in local communities, but also on the continent as a whole. Just as a quick background on the company, so the company exists for about 10 years now. This company was founded about 2010, and currently the company is in different countries. So there's a high presence in Latin America, in North America, in Europe, and this is quite interesting because it's a very diverse team of people working together, making sure that we are developing products and solutions that have a high impact on humanity. So currently, things are looking very exciting in the space industry, and for Satellogic is not an exception. So at the moment, we are closing into a big date to launch more satellites into space, and this is very, very exciting. This is just a quick overview on the types of platforms that we have. So we have these types of birds flying in the sky and being able to capture high quality imagery on very high revisit rates daily, almost everywhere in the planet. So in terms of image resolution, we have for multispectral camera with a 1 meter resolution that with an algorithm that we have, we can go to about 70 centimeters in resolution. And for hyperspectral, we have 29 bands in 25 meter in terms of resolution. So these birds are about 40 kilograms and they fly in LEO orbits, sun synchronous orbits at 475 kilometers. Just a quick overview on our factory, on how we are building our birds. This is the roadmap that we had. This is the path that we took to reach where we are at the moment, from launching the first cube bug in 2013 all the way to 2020, where we had the most of our launches. So you will see also something very interesting in Satellogic is the names of our satellites. They are named after very important women in the science field, in the space field, and you'll see some correlation there with the names of our satellites. We are currently working with SpaceX in terms of launches. So we have another 4 birds that are going to be launched next week. This is very exciting with Falcon 9 in the United States of America. This is up for the launches that are coming up. This is still another overview on our factory, in our assembly and integration and testing facilities that are located in Uruguay. As I said, Satellogic is a company that has offices in different countries in the world, and very interesting because we have our assembly and integration and testing facilities in Uruguay. In terms of our portfolio, so we have satellite images, we have solutions for different use cases. We have something very interesting that you are not going to see anywhere else in the industry, which is the dedicated satellite constellation. So what do I mean with that? With a dedicated satellite constellation, basically you have our satellites and you're using space as a service. With this, you are able, it's basically as if you have a constellation of satellites without having to have the cost of manufacturing, launching, and operating. So you would have basically a constellation at your service to get images over the specific areas that you want to monitor. And also something very interesting that we do is the hosted payload program. So what we do with this is we fly on our satellites. For example, we can fly your payload as well on our satellites when we launch them. Our unique satellite as a service model offers the opportunity to develop a national geospatial imaging program at an unmatched cost. You know, if you've been in the industry for a very long time, you know the costs that come with having to build a constellation. Because the one thing very important when you have an Earth observation satellite or remote sensing satellite, you want high resolution, and you also need high revisit, because for some use cases, it can be a little bit problematic to you if you are revisiting the area, if it takes too long for you to revisit a specific area. And our satellite as a service model offers you this opportunity, you know, for you to develop this national geospatial imaging program. And this is very, very interesting for countries in Africa that are developing a space program but don't have the budget to actually develop this robust constellation that is able to revisit to have a high revisit and high resolution over specific areas. So in terms of applications, we are looking into many different applications. As you see this very nice image on your right hand side, we are into infrastructures, energy, food, cartography, natural resources, policy and government, industrial and real estate, and last but not least, economic resources. So within our operations, we have different verticals that we are tackling, and this has a huge impact on human life, as you guys will see. Just a quick image here that we have captured over Cape Town in South Africa. I have brought here some images that we have in specific African countries. So this is a very beautiful image, as you guys can see it in terms of resolution, detail, and information that you can collect from this image. This is a very, very famous image. This happened during when the ship got stuck in the Suez Canal in Egypt, and we actually had one of the best images that were captured. When images were compared with other providers in the market, we actually ranked very high, and that was very, very exciting. This just shows the quality of our product. Here we have the hyperspectral image over Senegal. These types of images, you have different use cases that you can do. You can do a lot with these types of images, but specifically like for crop monitoring, which is very interesting, which is also the focus of what I want to discuss here in this presentation with you guys. This is another hyperspectral image over the Western Sahara, also very, very nice image. You can collect a lot of information from this image and make a lot of decisions based on the data that you have access here. Just a quickly technology and product roadmap that we have. So our plan is to leverage our cost advantage to build continuous Earth data capabilities beyond weekly remaps. So what do I mean with that? Our goal is actually to be able to remap the world daily, and that's really, really, really amazing. So at the way we stand at the moment with the current constellation that we have, we can do this monthly, and we are targeting to do it weekly by 2022. And then with the following satellites that we're going to launch, we are going to be able to do this daily. And this is also a game changer and very exciting for the industry as a whole, because imagine having the capacity to remap the world daily. That's very exciting, and you can do a lot. I mean, in terms of decision making that you can enable governments and institutions, it's very, very important for the development, especially for African countries. In terms of what we also want to be is Satellogic will be the information platform for planet Earth. So high resolution Earth observation data on a daily basis. It's going to be available through a API, that can be integrated with third-party users. We do a lot of that, and also, just to enable a broad range of value-added services, like, for example, counting ships in a harbor, identifying trees in a forest, which is very, very important. The sense of humidity in levels in the field, locating and identifying airplanes, amongst other objects. This is my quick presentation before we get into the discussion, and I would like to then, during the discussion, talk a little bit more about the different companies that we are working with already in Africa, the impact that we want to make in Africa, for example, Senegal, many different companies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Aldrich. Thank you for your inputs. We are going to start the interview session once Mr. Marco is done with his presentation, and that's going to happen in another 10 to 15 minutes. I'm not sure where Mr. Marco is. I think I'm just going to connect with him again.
Probably a connection issue, but it should be.
Probably connection issue. Yes. Yeah.
While we wait, we can kick off some discussion so that people.
For sure, I think something that I found really interesting, like obviously that whatever your company is doing is that observing Earth. So we know that we are in a phase like where we are facing climate change, and these things reasonably. So like how the satellites in that, how can this.
Could you either repeat your question or leave it after Marco, because Marco is here already?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. I think
Yeah.
I will.
You
You
with
can
me?
just, yeah. You can just on both of you can answer this question, and then Mr. Marco can go ahead and start with this presentation.
Could you
So I
repeat
think
it?
what my question was like, yeah, yeah. My question is that how space can help us help. Like how is because you are in a company based on Earth observation, how can we tackle climate change and all of these issues that we are facing on Earth right now?
Well,
Yes.
in terms of climate change, so you use the satellite images to monitor, first of all,
Mm, mm,
monitor the different aspects that you would need in order to get the information for you to get into your conclusion, whether things are getting
mm,
better or are getting worse. So that's the first step. Let's say we can monitor the
mm,
glaciers, the rise of the sea, of
mm,
the level, the seawater, and amongst other things. And then you start
mm.
also monitoring the activities that leads into climate change, for example.
Right, right. Right. Yeah. Mr. Marco, do you want to go ahead and answer this question as well? And then we will start with the presentation, all which we will see you in another 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay, great.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that answer. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aldrich, for the amazing presentation. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Right. We can see your screen.
Okay, let me just put in full presentation mode. Okay, I think now you can see it all. Thank you again
Yes, we
for
can see screen.
this kind invitation and for the amazing moment we are having here to share a little bit of what you're doing so far. Um, Today, I'll share with you my view and a little bit of the work we are doing to complement and to extend the amazing capabilities that Eldridge just showed right now. I will just jump in terms of presentation of myself, so you can understand, and then we can discuss in case you need to go to more specific question on the career itself. The Angolan space activity started very back in the days, not with the formal launch of a satellite, but with all of the work that historically supported the creation of ground infrastructures and the strategy and training human resources so we can launch our first communication satellite and aim and target to other space and ground segment infrastructures. But that's not the main focus of a space exploration activity in a country. Believing that we need to focus on exploring the spin-offs of all the space exploration, exploring capabilities of very well experienced countries and companies, we need to explore what I call 70% of the space economy, that is the downstream. Thinking on that, me, Aldrich, and other young people here in Angola, started looking into what we call the new space worldwide. And from the Angolan space strategy that is designed and developed by the governmental side, the new space, private companies, young people, startups that want to really develop the space sector here in Angola started working on their business, on their solutions, on their initiatives, and I had the opportunity to make the bridge with the first attempt to create the Angolan Center for Space Studies, where with that we will put inside the opportunity for every single Angolan to work from the data gathering of satellites, either despite of their mission, process this data and create more and more applications and create more and more knowledge that will be sustained and exponentially boosted by the events will be creating like hackathons, and those initiatives, they go directly through the creation of articles on neuroscience applied to space, publication of different articles, Angolan young students, enterprises, and startups. They've been presenting on different conference, different events as we have here. As me and like me and Knowledge, we have different different Angolans doing the same thing all around the world, publishing their knowledge and using this knowledge for different applications like agriculture, defense, healthcare, flus, drugs, solid waste management, telecommunication, and all the sustainable areas we've been working, and that's the aim, the main target, share with you the work that some of us are doing on mapping schools using hyperspectral images and artificial intelligence, transforming bus carcasses in research stations to mimic the Columbus model of the International Space Station, and reinvent and apply biomimicry and old ancient organization fractal algorithms to the habitability issues we have here in Angola, applying arts and technology all together, not only to make those kind of miniaturized museum and then jump to big things like Cité de l'Espace in Toulouse, giving astronomical lectures, workshops, designing rockets with the school, making those rockets available, or this knowledge available for kids doing, to kids and young people, develop them with the resources they have in local and what they have, telecommunication, workshops, even for the youngest ones, the kids, very little kids that can explore their doubts and put their curiosity on the hands of astronauts, scientists all around the world, and get the answer from those very experienced space-related entities all around the world. Here the example of some space-related arts that are winning some contests and getting the attention from different people that really like this mix between space arts and technology. And this is extended to all genders, this is extended to all ages. And here another example where, in cooperation with other countries in Africa, like Mozambique, we want to bring coding exactly in Python, astronomy, data science, artificial intelligence, to prevent the breast cancer and other diseases that are characteristics for women and specific segments of the society. Comic books as the main basis for understanding the complex and hard to reach outer space. We've been not only studying the existing space-related comic books, but also developing our own and complementing it with that knowledge, bringing it up to the hardware part, where we build CANSATs, CubeSats, rockets, and work with the universities and schools so they can do the same, organizing contests so they can apply the knowledge we share with them, you know, on launching, dropping CANSAT, launching CubeSats, and all those things, not only from rockets, but also from aircrafts. And aircrafts also is a solution that we're trying to bring to have this payload experimentation, as we call now the high altitude balloons and the pseudo satellites, because culture is always involved, and we are finding in history evidence that some of the things that we've been developing so far until now in Angola can be reinvented to create the first African museum analog sites to preserve the patrimony, but also at the same time reinvent and explore the kind of infrastructures and knowledge that we have in terms of robotics, space science, and all those things. And just to finish now, it is all about bringing sustainability and applying all that knowledge to solve and improve the quality of life here in Angola. That's why we invite, when we can, students, and we challenge students to bring solutions for agriculture, for remote assessment of the fields. Here are some examples of our national airport airplane identification using the most recent algorithm, YOLO, to process with a high accuracy aeronautical infrastructures, wetlands monitoring and their biodiversity, the urban management in the Angolan capital for different types of identification and the participation and management of these diseases, yellow fever tracking, solid waste management and pollution on the Luanda Bay, floods and drought on the southern part of Angola. We are studying and implementing real concrete solutions to support the government, and we are making the bridge for those companies that are providing the upstream capabilities, the images and the knowledge, and we are applying it on the field for the Angolan case. Here you see the problems of disaster management and many applications, content, solutions. I just brought here a word of initiatives, solutions in different areas that I would like to discuss in further detail in other opportunities, but just to spread this message that we start, as Aldo always share with me, with a humble beginning. We reinvented ourselves with what we had, and we now just realize that the only thing that we need to have to develop a space sector is the willingness of doing the best, because all the rest we find easily with the support of all nations, all the people inside and outside the country that have the interest and capability. So for the space sector itself, we are mapping and targeting to create a sustainable ecosystem where the new space ecosystem come as a spin-off, as an extension of the big industry, where we're giving for the youth the tools, the knowledge, so they can create more and more startups, participate on the events, and showcase their solution. Because at the end of the day, we all will win, and we want to do it with as many people, as many countries that really want to grow on that direction. Thank you very much, and again, I'm really pleasure to answer all the questions and interests that you want, curiosities that you want to ask.
Definitely. Thank you, Mr. Marco. I think this was such an insightful presentation and also such an inspirational one as well. Just looking at like what kind of efforts have been put into, even education part, and how far, Angola has come along in these years. It's really inspirational. And thank you for that presentation. I think my first question, from you is that, just talking about the education part, is like what kind of reformation is required in the educational structure in your country, to add space education as a priority, because now we are moving towards, the new space age, and we will need a lot of workforce.
Yeah, first is to understand the importance of space, we need to outreach first as young believers, as young ambassadors, and as a space program. We all have the responsibility to touch, to evangelize. I don't know if it's the right word, but we need to spread the word of space, how space is useful, and we need to translate it. That's the main and the basic thing, because sometimes we, not only because of the law, but also because of some advancement, we can't go down to a school teacher or to a kid to explain in easy words what is space and how space is important. So that's the first thing. Outreach the decision makers, the school directors, and from there, and I have an example. Me and Alger will be and more six Angolan experts will be implementing the first space education curriculum here in Angola. And we were invited for the director of that school. We were the ones that went there to propose. That person just saw the work we were doing outside the country, inside the country, and notice the impact, the results. And that person wants the same results for us. So the first thing is just that. After that, it's just providing the tools for the schools when they understand that they really need.
Mm-hmm.
And then they need the tools. They need to know how to build a rocket and how to connect it to the physics curriculum. They need to connect it to the chemistry and all those mathematics and arts curriculums. They need to know how to make the bridge. And this is what we need to do to make this spin off.
Definitely, I completely agree with you. Like as a science communicator myself, I feel like this is the most important thing. That is outreach, to reach out to these people, these students, and bring change in the society. So I definitely agree with you in that. Mr. Aldrich, do we have you here now?
But you can ask in case we
Right.
will. Yeah.
Right. I think, yeah, definitely I can move forward with this. So you guys you have started 6 startups in your country, right? And like, how do you think the privatization of the space support the development in the emerging nations like Angola, even in India? We had a kind of a revolution in these 2 years, where now ISRO is supporting the private players, private startups, right? So what kind of change will happen if there is more privatization in the space industry?
Here in Angola or in Africa, we have a phenomenon that more than 50% of the startups of the new space companies, they are a spin-off from the government. As you are telling now, that is really supporting the creation of this private sector. Their role on the society, the role of a startup, either a space startup or mining startup or other kind of startups, their role is to disrupt the way to arrive to the solutions. So there are different roles. At the governmental level, we can't risk too much. At the governmental level, we need to follow some procedures. And those things, they make sometimes complicated to target innovation, to target some more disruptive approach. For example, if I want to even for the money, that as if the government thinks on a most commercialized version of a space application, these require, in terms of organics law and statute, a different positioning. So, as a startup, I can't like put a little bit apart the the policy part and go more into the commercial part and the sustainable part. So those are different roles. Startups, they are really good in putting things easy, and what I always say, fail fast and fast recover.
Mm.
They can rearrange, and they can easily fit on the challenges that appear very fast on the society, different from the government that they need to have a more strict and stable behavior,
Mm.
but that doesn't excuse them to be disrupted and to follow those
Mm.
things. And is a shared market, is a shared ecosystem. So each one of them has their responsibilities and their roles in the society.
Mm-hmm. Definitely fascinating. So, like, what do you think? Because we know that collaboration is one of the important factors to progress, right? When once you collaborate, even with partners or other people, you basically progress in a startup or even in a company. So, how do you think that collaboration between the organization and who are in spacefaring nation or developed nations like United States or Australia or other European countries, and with emerging nations organization, if these organizations to these different domains collaborate, how will it will be beneficial for the overall development of the space sector in the emerging nations?
I can easily say that
Mm,
the main factor will be the main gain will be the autonomy, having the
mm, mm,
possibility. Because you saw here, for example, Angola launched satellite FADE. No
mm,
matter, we don't need to look on what were the causes, but so
mm.
far we don't have space capabilities, but we
Right.
have downstream needs.
Mm,
So if you rely on the creation of a space program or on the creation of a constellation like Satellogic,
mm,
you will imagine, you will take all that time that they had to fail and to recover and to build a stable constellation. You look at the Satellogic, you look at ISI, Maxar, and all those companies, they are very well established and balanced.
mm,
So you need to be humble enough to understand what is your position on this chain and ask for their support, develop um, a win-win solution, a win-win cooperation where you will win by solving your problems. They will win by supporting you and making their business, and both of you will grow at the end. Where this kind of cooperation must have, from my point of view, the transfer of knowledge. But the transfer of knowledge and technology is a very complex and long-term process. So, and this is the responsibility of the both parts. My part, for example, will be learning and be able and open and ready to learn, because it doesn't matter, or there's a waste of time if you are taking your time going to my country or to my company trying to teach me, but I won't put my best employees in front of you to take advantage of your presence.
mm,
Those are more kind of political wishes, but let me tell you that the main problem is, okay, even if the people that wants this cooperation are willing to help or to teach, some internal issues here in Africa that doesn't allow you to take to drink from this knowledge. So those are the things that I really identify as the main how can I say, the main targets when we are operating. First is learn, be able and open and ready to learn, and understand that um, it takes a
Right.
lot to be big. So humble beginning always.
Hmm. Right. And we always say this term these days that space is for everyone, right? And how do you think that the diversity in space is important? And what career options can you opt for in the present space industry? Because it's not only about scientists and engineers. It's also about, for example, Aldrich. He's a project. He's come from a background of project management. So, like, what suggestions do you want to give to students, and why diversity is so important in the space sector?
Diversity is important because, sorry, diversity is very important because we need, when we are trying to solve, anyone is, everyone is welcome, because every single opinion, even if it isn't the solution of all the problem, we need to look at it as a different perspective. There are so many ways to arrive to one place that we need to look at all, and that's what space, for example, space observation teach us.
Mm.
The bigger we are, the farthest we are from Earth, the better we can see. We can see different pods, different trends, different paths, different that because we are inside Earth, for example, and we can't see all the things that a Earth observation satellite see, or an airplane or a drone don't see the same thing, it doesn't see the same thing as a satellite, for example. And that's why, and diversity for me represent how big we can see the different points of view, the different elements, the path, the phenomena, all those things. And in terms of careers, that's why you see on the satellite construction, for example, you have a system engineer, a project manager, a manager, a space lawyer, you have a communication specialist, thermal, AOCS, they need to know a lot about math. So if you want like physics, you go to pointing accuracy calculations and some metrics and things like that. If you are more from the chemistry, you go to propulsion to look into the tanks, propellant, you look into the ionic propulsion thrusters and chemical thrusters. So this is for the upstream. You see some of you call all of them engineering, but without a lawyer, a satellite can't be launched without being registered. Otherwise, it will be a illegal launch. For the downstream here, supporting those kind of activities, even a space artist, Percy, you see that is a person with a sense of looking into patterns, colors, and you see those hyperspectral images, near infrared images. They are this mix of colors, lands, and RGB and other color codifications. I'm not telling that it's straightforward the space analyst,
Hmm.
but a space artist is also a person that can launch a microgravity experiment and understand, for example, you know that on microgravity, you can have an homogeneous mix of different elements. Here on ground, we can create new materials because of the sedimentation of the gravity. That's why artists are also invited to go to the space station and send their experiments to different microgravity opportunities to showcase how space can be reinvented on the space environment, how arts, how arts can be reinvented on the space environment and all the others. So
Hmm.
all the And I can take like all the day to explain that every single talent is applied on the
To the
space mission.
space industry. Yeah.
Every single talent.
Hmm. Definitely, I completely agree with you on that. I think everyone from different backgrounds can enter space. We have so many, not new, but like the emerging careers like space law and then space policy, and now we're slowly moving toward diplomacy as well because soon we are all going to be in space. So I think that definitely I agree with you or on
Good
that
point.
answer. Right, you were saying
Sorry
something.
to interrupt you.
That's okay.
You are a good example. For example, communication.
Right. Yeah.
Here in Angola, we had a failure of our satellite.
Hmm.
People are not. They were not happy on the way we lost satellites.
Hmm.
So, who will explain this for the common people?
Hmm.
Who will explain this for people that don't know nothing about space? This need to be a person with a good communication skill because if you call a scientist to explain for a normal citizen how the satellite was lost or what is a satellite, you have a mess. So communicators is an example that I want to highlight here.
Definitely. I think I saw your comics as well that you presented in your presentation, and this is like one form of science communication. So yeah, do you want to elaborate on the comics? Like when did you come up with the idea, and like was it like one of your startups or just like a social activity?
Yeah, the idea started when we identified during the space program development, we need to invest on space education and outreach because I before that I had already I was used to work on comic books and I knew how effective they are in terms of communication and we understand the low level of literacy here in Angola. The comic, the illustration, and an animated videos will be a very good solution to reach out people in a very simplified, in a very well, because we understood that I can stay here and talk for 2 hours about orbits, but if you don't see like a sketch or something that show you this circular path, it will be complicated for you. And on space is very hard to take you on a school trip. Let's go to space and see satellites. It's different from other areas where you can just pick people and show them physically all those things, even outside the museum. So this comic book just started as an initiative to reach out more and more people from there, the initiative just got another dimension because the space program couldn't afford, and the space program didn't found they didn't find this idea like the priority. We had to focus on the construction of the satellite. So other companies. And other young people asked me, and I joined them to put this program going, not only in Angola but in other different countries. As I was said, that's the importance of a startup.
Hmm.
A startup, a new space company, don't need to need to respect and follow the strategy of the country, but don't need to get stuck or depending on something to develop a solution that will help every single person on earth at the end of the day. So this is where we started. We made the three comic book editions. We are working now on the fourth and fifth. You are more than welcome to work with us to present some of those initiatives in comic books, animations, and kids. didactic resources. So that's it in a nutshell.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Marco. I think this is my last question to you. What career advice or what advice you want to give to students who are watching your session right now to how to enter the space industry?
My advice is just talk to people.
Hmm.
Talk to people about your dreams. Talk to people about your concerns. Talk to people about your ideas, even
Hmm.
though you think they will steal you and things like that. Talk to people because as many people you talk to or you talk with,
Hmm.
as many feedback you have. And probably you will be lucky enough to find someone like the team of Allen Labs, um, the SDN, Eldridge, and other very good people, or even like me that even if I'm not a good person, I can like make the bridge and show you good people that will
Hmm.
help you, that will make you power. They will boost your dreams and make it happen. This is
Hmm.
what I can tell. I can tell you. Just talk to people. All the rest is just working hard and love. Love. Just put love in what you are doing. Believe it and talk to people because you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You need just to listen to those who already were there.
Hmm.
Put on the shoulders of the giant and you'll be bigger. Yeah, put on the shoulder of the giant. Otherwise,
Definitely.
you need to climb just because you want to be a giant, but you're not. So if you put on the shoulders of a giant, I would just straight to the point. Don't try to compare to arrive to the level of those that are there. Try to join forces and add on top of those that are already on the field. Okay, it's not by taking the opportunity or by cutting the legs of other people that you will be bigger than them. Okay, the greatness is inside us. More
Right.
love,
Definitely.
more peace,
Definitely.
more space.
Definitely. Thank you, Mr. Marco. Thank you for this amazing insights and answers. I think this is the most, insightful and, the most amazing session that I've had until now in the Global Space Summit as well. So we have Aldrich
With
now.
Eldridge, that would be the most amazing for sure. Huh?
um, Right. Mr. Aldrich, so I have a question for you. So I think Mr. Marco has answered a lot of them, but something I want to ask you is that there's a lot of introduction of media companies and reality TV shows, as we can see, like even like Space Hero, that have introduced that. Uh, how do you think that that will change the phase of the space community or the community in general, as you were talking about science communication with Mr. Marco? So how do you think that will shift the whole arena of space community and even like generally communicating it with the non-scientific audience?
Well, yeah, it represents the new era that we're living
Hmm.
in the space industry. You have to
Hmm.
understand that for the 65 years of space exploration, most of them were space exploration was defense.
Hmm.
Was for defense. Yeah, and you had the space exploration starting with the United States
Hmm.
and with the Soviet Union, which is Russia now. And at that time, they were exploring space for defense reasons only, because it was believed that whoever dominates space is going to be able to dominate their opponents, right? So, but and then you started seeing sort of this progression of spinning off defense technology for commercial uses. And now the space industry is stepping into that wider spectrum of using technology used for the space sector, but now on a broader range for applications in different segments of our societies and different industries. So this is quite the paradigm change that we are living. And with that, it brings so many opportunities because now, since it's no longer just for defense, then it's no longer just for engineers, and then it's no longer just for specific nationalities. So now you have different, how can I say, you need different backgrounds for when you have a company, for example, you need to be able to market the product that you're selling. Otherwise, how can you reach better to your consumers if you're not marketing very well your product? You need to have different types of people, different backgrounds in a company. And this is the paradigm shift. And this also connects to media companies, as you have said, because now what people realize is that, so if you have a product, put the space sector aside, let's just say in general, if you have a product, you need to be able to communicate this product into the users, and you have people who are specialized in that. Most of the time, or even 100% of the time, it's not the engineer who is designing the propulsion system of the satellite that is going to be the most appropriate person to create a marketing strategy for a product. Let's say I'm designing this mobile, and then most of the time, if I'm the guy thinking about all the technical aspects of this mobile phone, I'm not going to be the guy who will be able to think about the marketing strategy, who's the right person that I'm targeting, like what type of people, what type of users, what are it's not going to be the same person. So you need different types of people when this opens a wider spectrum of opportunities, and not only of opportunities for people to work in the space sector, but also for the sector itself to evolve, because now you're bringing different types of thinking, different philosophies, people that understand or look at problems from different angles. So that's very interesting.
Definitely. I think I find it really interesting, like where we are moving in the new space age. As being one of the insiders, I think it's just like I'm truly excited about kind of projects that come up with Space Hero as well. So, like, where do you see the space industry in the upcoming decade? Like, how will it look in 10 years or so? This is a question for both of you. Like, how do you think it will look in the next 10 years?
Yeah. Okay, so for me, in the next 10 years, the first thing that I see is the space tourism becoming a reality, because we have companies like SpaceX. We have now Blue Origin that they just sold in auction a seat to the space, which a lot of people try to get that seat. So that's an indicator that at least people who can afford are going to be pushing for that. But not only Blue Origin, you have other companies also like Virgin, where they have also a very affordable space travel model. And for me, in the next 10 years, that's what I see. I see the first thing is the boom of space travel in terms of space tourism, people going to space, let's say for um, 30 minutes and back to Earth, suborbital flights, point to point flights. This is going to be a reality. This is what I foresee for the next 10 years. On the next layer of things is actually seeing more entrants into the space industry. So more countries in Africa, more countries in Asia, in the Middle East, in Europe as well. At the moment, there is a boom of space companies happening. If you go into different countries, there's more than five, at least more than five companies that are using space data. Like for example, you can even go to a country like let's say Namibia, for example. They don't have a space program, but there are a lot of companies that are using space data, satellite images for information reasons, for decision making, and it's. I see a boom of that, of more companies, more people developing solutions and technology.
Definitely. And Mr. Marco, what is your opinion for the
You're on
same?
mute.
Yeah, it's not too far from what Andres said. Big data. We are producing data. We are already on the big data era. So in 10 years, we will go from a big data to tera data, like this kind of information being consumed for everyone, democratization. In 10 years, we will arrive in terms of downstream the democratization of the use of the, at least the communication and observation segments of space. That means we'll have those communication constellations being commercially effective and cost effective for every region on the globe, and the same for Earth observation. Data available, and more data, more companies, as LG said, more interest on the market. This will decrease the value of the data, and will make it available. And with that, I won't tell that the full technology or the space literacy will be achieved, but having more data available, I would tell that at least on the next 10 years, 30% of the worldwide literacy in terms of space usage. That means more students going or having access to space experiments, more students and startups having access on space, more companies exploring the outer space, and at the end, the bad news is in 10 years, the damage of space. In 10 years, we will, now we are looking to the pollutions, debris, and all those orbital or outer space issues. In 10 years, we will arrive to what we have now in the environment as a point of non-return, where no matter what we do, that's my point, for example, for the environment here on Earth, no matter what we do now, we will need to work 2 million years, like with the people not even producing or not breathing, to recover what we made to the climate, to the environment. So on space, in 10 years, we will reach this point of non-return that Mr. Cagel, yes, the syndrome of Cagel from NASA, if I'm not mistaken, was telling long time ago. In 10 years, we will not be on the point, but we will be out of our way to that point of non-return in terms of space access or space resources damage.
Definitely, I think space debris is a very big issue, as well as we were talking about climate change earlier, and I'm sure that a lot of startups are working on them, and a lot of organizations are working on it. We hope that in 10 years we reach to the point of space tourism, as well as Aldrich mentioned. I think moving on to a last fun question that I want to ask both of you, is that what is your favorite science fiction movie which inspired you to get into the space sector?
I mean, it's so many, it's hard to say, but I didn't have a movie that inspired me to get into the space sector, because
Right.
yeah, but my favorite science fiction movie, it's Interstellar, just because that although it's science fiction, actually there was a lot of research, a lot of study done when this movie was shot. So the science in this movie is actually very, very accurate. So that makes it my favorite movie.
What about Mr. Marco?
What brought me not to this station but nearby was Top Gun. That is more aeronautics and it's straightforward. The pilot pride and the pilot lifestyle, or the dream pilot reference lifestyle. Top Gun, Tom Cruise just made a good role, make everyone wanted to be a pilot at that time, because my background and my basis is on the aeronautics. On the space sector, science fiction, there is not a main one, but I like the Martian. Not only because of the story and the strength and the new things that we are use it to have here on Earth, what we call like this specific part of the potatoes plant growing on the Mars on the Mars environment. This touched me a little bit on how we can really reinvent ourselves and do amazing things in space if we have this.
Definitely, the idea of getting onto Mars or like traveling through black hole fascinates us all. Because all right, so I think this is the end of the interview session, Mr. Marco and Mr. Aldrich. I think we have one question from audience that how do you get more involved, with organization like SGSC and Moon Village Association, like how to get in and how to get involved in it.
Yeah, it's free. It's free to get involved with SJC, so you can become a member. You just need to go into the same. The same applies for the Moon Village Association. You can go to the websites for respectively for Moon Village Association and the Space Generation Advisory Council, and you can become a member, and it's free. So you can become a member and start receiving the newsletters, start participating in events that are happening the whole time. And on top of that, if there are any open positions, you can be a candidate and try and apply for these open positions, such as becoming a national point of contact or any other position that is available at the Space Generation Advisory Council and the Moon Village Association.
All right. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Marco and Mr. Aldrich. This session would be, I think, one of my most favorite ones in the Global Space Summit. And I hope that, students and young professionals who are, watching your session right now and will be watching in the future can get inspiration from you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to be here.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.